What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Books to Business podcast. Today we're going to talk about 5 Stars by Carmine Gallo.
The communication secrets to get from good to great. And we just had a chance to interview Carmine about this book. And Carmine and I go back to the fall when I did my TED Talk. I actually reached out to him. I read his book. I sent him a message. I wanted some feedback on my TED Talk, and he agreed to kind of coach me. And I flew out to his home out in Silicon Valley and spent the day with him. And he taught me a lot of the techniques that are in this book. So I think by the end of this podcast, you're going to learn a lot of things about how to get your message across, how to share your idea powerfully and persuade.
Yeah.
And get 5 stars, like a 5-star hotel. What else is rated 5 stars? What is 5 stars? Restaurants. And he actually goes through in the first chapter what's the difference between 4 and 5 stars, like in the hotel industry. There's like very few 5 stars, real 5 stars.
140 something.
Yeah, almost none. I mean, in the world of this, and there's tens of thousands of 4 stars. So it's how to make that little step above to become elite and stand out. This book is about standing out. It's about sharing your idea and, being a cut above everyone else.
Yeah, and how little that is. Like the difference between being incredible and being good in 2020, in the days of teleconferencing and video and access to hundreds of thousands and millions of people is very little. It's some tactical things that you can implement into your storytelling and what you do, and makes a big difference. Those that watch the podcast will know that we talked about Carmine when we did Storyteller Secrets and Talk Like TED way back in the day. So
yeah, if you're going to be a speaker or a coach or a communicator or a teacher, you're going to ever do a PowerPoint slideshow, you're even going to ever kind of try to teach your kids something. The ideas in this book are remarkable, and it's about cutting away everything we've done. Like in almost all the books, it's not about doing more and gaining more abilities. It's about refining the 5 or 6 that you have. Yeah, make them tight, and I think he just does a great job giving you a framework to build a world-class presentation with a lot of easy ideas. And we plucked about 4 or 5. We can chat about
favorites. Yeah.
We're a little biased, but
that's a great point, though. Throughout the whole book, you see that theme of just simplification, PowerPoint, storytelling. It's simple, evoking emotion, getting a point across, and like you said, we'll talk about some of it, but reoccurring in almost every episode, every author at one point or another mentions the human tendency to want to acquire and expand and grow as opposed to cutting away. So the difference maker. We interviewed him the other night, and he said there's really the ages of these changes that are happening. We have one happening right now, in almost every instance, a new social class was born. In almost every instance, there was new occupations that are born. Right. And we're in the cognitive revolution, I think. This is ideas are what are explosive. Physical abilities are becoming less monetizable, if you will. Being stronger and faster isn't necessarily translatable to making more money or being more successful or happy. It's how to get an idea, how to think differently and perhaps with some novelty, and then be able to communicate that effectively to your audience and persuade somebody to your idea. It's important. Win them. Yeah. It's almost tangential to Harari in Homo Deus. He's talking about how things are changing and we have to evolve. Right. And Carmine says the same thing, just in a different way. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And everything's a lot more simple than you think. Right. That this isn't about, that talks about the companies. He talks about Uber. Uber was an idea. Airbnb was one of my most favorite ones. When the guy, they have a storyline to Airbnb, how they started. It's the 3-part story we'll go over at the end, but I like how the whole company started off the idea of a couple kids trying to make a couple of bucks with some air mattresses in
in their living room.
It's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
Making tens of thousands of dollars selling cereal boxes. It's like,
Right.
man.
Yeah, the Obama Cheerios. Was it the Obama Cheerios? They sold,
Obama's.
what they sell for $40 a box.
And Captain McCain's.
Yeah.
Pretty clever. Pretty clever.
Yeah. Well, they were running out of money, and they did that. And they raised enough money to keep going, and then they attracted big investors like Ashton Kutcher and that Y Combinator, I think it was called, out in Silicon Valley. And they were like, will people really spend money to sleep on an air mattress in someone's living room? And the guy says, well, you guys got someone to buy a $3 box of cereal for $40, so we'll give you a shot. That's really what...
I'm betting on you. Right.
That's right. Sometimes you got to be slightly crazy enough to get people going.
So what was your favorite topic? So people that haven't read this book, and we've kind of given a little intro on it, like what do you think would be a cool starting point to open it up?
Oh, I mean, this isn't a new concept. It's the storytelling framework. I like, when people that I consult and coach are mostly salespeople, so they're always looking for a way to make a better sales presentation, and taking the busy and the extensive words out and bringing it down to readability index. That was one of my favorite parts, that you got to run your speeches and copy through a readability index, which will basically say that this is what a third grader or a fourth grader or an 11th grader the education is required to read and understand this copy.
Which is incredibly challenging.
It's really, to make things, and by the way, better is lower. The best speeches of our time are all lower readability.
Right.
But I like the 3-part story system. It's still fantastic. The hero's journey. One thing I learned about in this book that I didn't know is the Elon Musk interview questions. He's got, if you should ever interview with Elon Musk, he's got 3 questions he asks you, and he wants to see how you answer them. The first one is, tell me your life story. The second one is, tell me about the decisions you made along the way. And the third question is, tell me why you made those decisions. So he's looking for
an organization that builds rockets, and those are the questions that he asked. I mean, that just goes to show you, right?
I think he's looking for great communicators, and great communicators keep it simple. Great communicators don't leave you hanging. They don't have you running to a dictionary, right?
Right.
They don't have you looking up words.
And there's stories throughout. I think because his world is essentially Silicon Valley, right? You said that's where he lives.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Pulls from a lot of those examples. You hear a lot of people in the tech world. He gives an example of, and I forget the guy's name. There's so many names and great stories in this book, but maybe if you can throw it out. But the gentleman that started coding late, didn't really know, was behind. That's the long story short, and really blew people away with his interview skills and his storytelling and making himself the hero in these short conversational interviews, and just commanded, everyone wanted him. He got a lot of money and was chosen above very experienced coders.
Yeah. What'd you like?
I like the 5 components of TED Talks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first one was... I love the first one because people show up to TED and they have these big long PowerPoint slideshows that they said they take you out, buy you a drink, and start deleting your bullets. So have a drink. You're going to need this because we're getting rid of your entire presentation, and they're going to replace the bullets with pictures. Yeah. That's what Carmine did with my TED Talk. I had a lot of bullets, so I'd remember them when you're talking because you got 18 minutes.
TED advocates none. Pictures.
Just pictures. Yeah, I ended up with pictures. Very few words. What else is in the
humor?
Yeah.
That's
Tell
a big
jokes. Adding a joke, that's kind of touchy. Do you recall using humor at all in yours?
No, and that's as years down the road, I look back and I think that would have been something that I'd like to add on the next one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know you personally. I don't know you to be your brand to be a funny brand, but you're a funny guy.
I separate them. I segment them.
Because your motivation space is kind of a serious space. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's fun.
You ever see someone who trying to be funny that isn't funny?
Yes.
The only way they can be funny by making fun of the fact that they're not funny. That's funny.
Yeah. He talks about that. Self-deprecation is a big one.
Right. Yeah.
What are some?
Who's the guy from?
Are they in here? I want to read them out.
Oh, I got them here. Yeah, they're share stories was the third one.
shares right.
Yeah. You share a story of struggle, right? Conflict, coming back, being against a clock, coming back from something, some kind of adversity. That's like, and then what else did he talk about?
He breaks away and he goes, into a little bit how humans are designed for story. He talks about the campfire, sitting around. That's how we communicated, and even into some like studies.
Oh yeah.
With brainwaves.
Yeah.
And hearing audio. Your brain, was it an MRI? I forget. There's machines. Anytime I get into these details, I say things that aren't correct. But they basically measured the brain waves of someone listening to audio, and then in a language they couldn't understand. And then once they translated it, that same audio they could understand, and they heard the story. The brain waves matched the person telling the story.
The neurocoupling, I think he called it. It's
like
when you're in heavy rapport with somebody. It's almost like a symphony, Sometimes when the conductor of the symphony has someone out, he'll just go boom, boom. The story puts everybody in the same wave. Then the brains start going up and down at the same time. It's pretty interesting.
It's really an incredible thing.
But science, though, is not, and it's the only thing that does that is story. Nothing else does it. The emotion of story puts people in a neurocoupling, neural alignment. He also calls it. It's like your brains are clicked. It's called rapport.
Right.
Heavy rapport is when somebody identifies with you. It's like when you write an ad, you want them to be shaking your, are you overwhelmed? Are you frustrated? Are you scared? Like you want them saying, yes, me? Oh yeah, yep. While that's happening, even if it's in written words, people are kind of starting to connect with your message, so they're ready to receive. Well, guess what? I was too. So now we're in a vibe, and then you give them a solution. It's kind of cool. Yeah, the neural coupling.
You mentioned the little bit of like sort of discomfort that makes it more memorable, which is interesting.
The struggle, the conflict.
Yeah.
Like there's no story without a conflict, right?
Yeah.
Look at Star Wars without conflict. Luke's uncle didn't get killed, or the death, or
there's no Darth Vader.
There's no story. It's just a story about people having a good time.
So that's 3. Headlines is one of them.
Headlines and the 3-point.
Basically explaining the narrative, right? The main point right out of the gate, right?
Right.
So it was because he said there's a trap that people fall into where they kind of keep it a mystery, and people don't really know where the presentation is going.
Right.
But to say that right up front, so that every example is reinforcing what people already have been told.
Right. Yeah. Keep it to 3.
Yep.
He said the rule of 3 is important. That's one thing that I went through with him. Is I think I got it down. It started at 12 ways to recreate yourself. It was going to be over 12 weeks, and then I got it down to 5, and then we ended up with 3, and that was it. This is how you do it. You go from the theme was go from broken to beautiful in the 3 steps.
It's probably painful cutting some of that stuff because your story is such a personal one, and it's like it's not unimportant, the things that you're getting rid of, right. So I bet it was challenging.
Well, it seems like you think it's the end of the world. Like, oh no, that was a really big deal. You weren't there. He goes, oh well, I know I wasn't there, but I also won't understand it if you start going into it. Nor will you have time to tell me the real story.
Right.
Like what the big idea in the thing was to go from one place to another, to transport over and through conflict, and you can only say a few things. And I think in an 18-minute TED Talk, you can only maybe do 3 stories, 4 stories, maybe 2 jokes, and you're pretty much done.
It's quick.
Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, and you got a clock right over the cameraman's shoulder, so you always see the clock. So you got to like really stick to it, and that's that's the elements of story. And then the last one was what was the last one in it? Oh, promise something new.
Novelty.
Yeah, like I'm going to give you something new, a new way, novelty bias, which is cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember when I did my TED Talk, a lot of people, I would say that the biggest challenge, or I should say TEDx Talk, the biggest challenge was people going over that timeline, because they like we're talking about, they condense all this stuff in. And, what I've been doing for 5 years is storytelling twice a week in a 3 to 5 minute window.
Right.
So it was almost like I had a hard time crafting an impactful story over 5 minutes. I'm like,
the first one you did for me was 11 minutes.
Was it?
Yeah, you got it down to 11 minutes.
Yeah.
I used some of it, then I added. It's funny. I gave you my life story. You knew it, and then you wrote it and came back. It was 11 minutes.
That's right.
It was 11
I
minutes,
remember
yeah.
at the taco
I said
place.
11 minutes.
You're like, come on, man.
I'd be embarrassed, but if I did it again, I'd try to do it in less. I think mine was 17 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. A week before I was practicing it live. I did it about 10 times live, and I don't know how many times in person, maybe another 80, just reading it. And my last live before TED was 28 minutes. I went 10 minutes over.
Dude.
And I said, well, I couldn't believe I went 10 minutes over because I was timing it without people there, and it was 18 minutes. And I went live, it was 28 minutes.
Did you have that one recorded by any chance?
The 28, I do have it, yeah.
Did you ever watch it? Because I'm curious to see what you could have.
That'd be fun to compare.
I have it. Yeah, I did it on my iPhone.
Because I was with you for a lot of those times.
Yeah, you weren't. Yeah, you were
practiced
there.
at least 10 times in front of me.
But
the whole
18,
thing.
I was
And
nervous about
you were
the
tight
18.
at the end.
And then the lady who went before me, the guy forgot to turn the clock on. And I went up to him and said, make sure you turn the clock on. Like I'm trained to the clock. And he just forgot.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know why.
a curveball.
I don't know why. It was probably just adding things. You gotta take it away. And then Aristotle has that. I love the Aristotle, the three part to the Aristotle Greek method of telling stories. He says the audience is the judge, and they're judging whether or not your story will make them happy. And it's pathos, right? Pathos is emotion, 60%. 6/10 of your presentation should be emotional. And then ethos is, what's ethos?
Essentially character.
Character, right. Yeah, character. And then what else? Logos.
Logos.
Which is
detail.
stats, right? Logic.
Yeah, logic.
10%. No, 30% logic, 10% character. They want you to give a little credibility, but it should be very little bit of the presentation should be about you. Most of it should be about your story, the struggle.
The pathos.
Yeah, the emotion.
Yeah. I really.
I had a funny thought, random. Sorry to cut you off, but it's like the past few episodes I can remember, everything was about removing emotion. And this is like all about emotion. It was like add more emotion to your story, tell stories, be in the fantasy world, and like get to that frequency. I just noticed that with what you're saying. Because I'm like story. So I'm like, wait, why do I feel like I'm like against that emotional feeling? The other book we did with Good to Great, I think it was.
Just want to be emotional.
Yeah, exactly. But it was interesting. Yeah, I just noticed that.
Oh wow, that is interesting.
Because storytelling, this is so interesting, Steve.
Yeah.
Like storytelling is emotion. Decision making should be void of emotion.
Yeah.
Right? They're like two totally different things. That's what we're always talking about. Are we making an emotional decision, or are we being pragmatic?
Yeah.
I think there's like components of a business. Like if you're talking about a business, you're trying to put something out there. Let's say you have an idea, right? And you want to be a great communicator. And now you got to communicate your idea to somebody. You ever like say, I have an idea? Because we do it. We kick all kinds of stuff around. We just change gears a lot in our
I think we
marketing.
persuade each other, the three of us, more
Yeah.
than we think. Anyway.
But we're getting better at like, what is it? Like we're actually going very super niche instead of going real broad, because you're one of the few people I know in all the businesses I've been around that you have connected to millions of people. Like that's very, very difficult to do in an intrinsic product. Like you're not selling a T-shirt or you're not selling something. You have a motivational video.
That's idea. Yeah.
Like you're one of the few people that can do that. And go broad because it's such an appealing, discomfort and motivation and inspiration. It's just such a big space right now, particularly now. You just interviewed today with NBC for something?
Someone from a journalist from NBC.
Yeah, cool. What were they talking about?
Real sharp guy. Just things to do, within the COVID situation. Tips and tricks to kind of, something that he was hearing is that the day sort of blends together and people become restless, and just different ways to kind of break it down and make the most of it.
Yeah, break it down.
Break it down.
It's always a simple thing.
It is.
Yeah, but the framework for that, if you have an idea, make it as little as possible, like this little. Like if your idea, like Airbnb, he didn't talk about, renting out everybody's house worldwide and getting over that giant barrier of sleeping in a stranger's house. He was like, oh no, this is like San Diego, the presidential convention's coming in. We're going to rent out a couple bedrooms in someone's house and they're going to pay for it and it's going to work. So they told stories to get past why people do that. So it was called MVP, the minimum viable product first. And then you build, this is what it is. And then you build a little story like Steve Jobs did for the iPhone.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to have a portable computer. I'm going to talk to you about a telephone and then an online device, right? That was his story, 3 parts. He says, and it's the iPhone. It's all one product. That was his story. So he had it very small. And the iPhone barely worked then, the first iPhone.
Yeah.
I actually bought it.
You have it?
Yeah, no, I bought it. I don't have it anymore, but I stood in line like
Do
an
you know
idiot.
how much one of those unboxed, like unopened is now? Like tens of thousands of
I can
dollars.
imagine.
Yeah.
Didn't one guy bought one and stomped on it right in front of everybody? Did he get like a bazillion views online?
Oh, that'd break my heart.
He's probably-
yeah, he
Used to
probably
be a
made
lot
He's
of
it.
probably no longer amongst us.
Yeah.
Track him down, Steve. I
Sure
know
thing.
the
Sure thing.
idiot.
I'm on it. GPS. Okay.
Yeah. Let's
Track him down.
They used to do a lot of those videos to get people would go to try to get
Phone
viral.
stomping video?
Phone stomping, Xbox. I remember people like doing all types of like electronics. Whenever the new thing came out, they would just like destroy it because it would be like popular videos. Yeah.
No, that's not very different from TikTok today.
Yeah. They
Where it's
just do whatever.
Nonsense for attention.
Yeah.
It makes me want to pull. Oh, I used to have hair to pull out of my head. I don't
say,
anymore.
yeah.
You want to hear something funny about
I'm
TikTok?
not a TikTok
My
fan.
first video hit 1 million today.
Oh, congrats.
But it's been like months. It's just been trending. But what happened was I was being silly, and I was actually like amazed by the earth and planet. And I was like, it's beautiful, but I said it in a nonsense way. I was like, isn't it crazy how the water just sticks to this thing? Like I know gravity and I understand it, but I was just like joking around and saying it's just amazing. That's what I was trying to say, but in a very nonsense, trying to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And people thought I was saying it's a flat Earth. Like I didn't believe it.
So you got ripped.
Yeah. So, but it was all kids. All kids were just like, it's gravity. It's called gravity. I'm like, I know that. But anyway, that's how fickle it is like just a little simple thing like that could send you like gets millions of views for nothing. But
TikTok reminds me of all this reminds me of the .com era when companies that had no earnings were selling for like billions of dollars. It's like, what is it worth? Is it worth something or is it worth nothing? But most of them were worth nothing. A lot of the nonsense was just noise. They happened to be in the right place at the right time. That was the .com era in the 90s. Like companies would sell for lots of money to be no earnings. Like no accountant firm would ever say this company has no value. It doesn't make any money. If anything, it's losing money.
Right.
So you're going to invest in something to pay the bills.
Still get hundreds of millions of dollars in investments.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, you wonder. I think that's what gets me. Like you talk about persuasion and communication, and then you see someone on TikTok with 1 million followers, and he just stuffs cupcakes in his mouth, and it's like, what? I mean, I guess it's entertainment value.
King of the idiots.
No,
It's like, what is it?
I don't know. I'll never understand.
You got to build something and create something. I don't know what the product is there.
Yeah, maybe there's a whole business underneath it I'm not seeing. That's
Cupcakes.
could be. Yeah, maybe he sells cupcake shirts and
Cupcakes. If he said, well, I wanted to always start be a disc jockey. I didn't have enough money. All I had were these cupcakes. I made some cupcakes and sold them on the sidewalk. But then a car came by and got my cupcakes all wet. So I had all these wet cupcakes I couldn't sell. So I started washing cars and made enough money to buy my disc jockey equipment. Now I'm a disc jockey. Now I'm the guy DJ Khalid down the street. He lives right down the street.
well, maybe the TikTok is his first act. Like maybe he started doing cupcakes. He has no idea why it blew up. It started to because of a weird trend. People like weird trends for no reason. And then he got famous. And then he
starts doing
Starts becoming
something.
a DJ.
Yeah.
Well, he always got it. That's his conflict. He got hooked on drugs because his TikTok videos got so good.
Crazy.
You end up getting hooked on drugs because you get bored. So if life becomes too simple, you start to invent problems. You start sabotaging.
Yeah.
It's kind of moving all over the place, but
Yeah.
the minimum viable product. Let's get back to that.
Yes.
So you have a minimum viable product. You create a short 3-part story around the big idea that product does, the big promise it's novel, new. So this minimum product is new and it's going to help you survive in some way. You create the headline. This product will help you survive, right? Faster, stronger. Here are the 3 points, and then you put it together. And what I loved about his in the book, he's got these hacks, these mindset hacks, to start thinking outside the box a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the first hack there's 4 of them. Here's the first one: you got a product, you got an idea, you're kind of stuck, right?
and he says there's mindset. It's like reader's block. We talked about this morning for some reason. Remember we were talking about reader's block at breakfast?
Yeah.
Because like reader's block is a gift. It means you got to move. So he says, stroll the aisles of other companies and other products. Start looking and browsing in the periphery of your industry. Like Steve Jobs was strolling the kitchen appliances when he saw a Cuisinart, which became the model for the Macintosh. The Cuisinart, whatever that was.
The intersection of social sciences and tech.
Liberal arts and tech.
Liberal arts and tech. He gave a few other examples too.
Well, he said, theme songs, like play a music that gets you inspired. Like if you're stuck, he says, come up with a theme song, like the song from, what do you like, Braveheart? That's your movie, isn't it?
I love Braveheart. The Patriot's my favorite movie.
The song, or have a song that gets you in a vibe. He also talks about traveling. He says, just go somewhere and get a new environment. You know, get around different people.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole. These are all hacks to get your mindset different. And like right now, we're in a new place here, and we're actually stuck here. So it's interesting. We've only been here 2 weeks maybe. How long have we been here, Steve?
I don't know, but I started a lot of drugs because we haven't been able to do anything.
Yeah, there's like
April 1.
Yeah, April 1. So about 2 weeks.
What day is it?
And we're in the
13th,
new
right?
environment, so we got new ideas. Like we can't leave, and I can't even begin to tell you all the work we've gotten done because we've been focused on that. I haven't even watched the news in like a week.
Yeah, we used to check those stats like religiously, the cases and stuff. I kind of fell off looking at it.
Yeah, I don't look at it anymore.
It literally doesn't matter.
There was the moment this morning, or I think it was last night, was I mentioning it was just like a weird moment where the quarantine felt normal, where I was like, I need to go to the store, but I need to go early because I need paper products, and there's like less people, and I thought of it as like a routine thing. I'm like, okay, tomorrow I got to go right first thing in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, it's not like normal anymore. I mean, it's becoming normal.
Yeah.
My normal routine is not normal anymore, where I can go any time of the day. I have to go. It's weird.
Yeah, but if you got to change your mindset, like if you're, I think this will work for anyone who's like depressed or not feeling well or a little uninspired, is look at these 4 hacks. You know, start looking at other industries, see if you can pick up new ideas for your own industry. You know, get music to inspire you because music makes your mind flip out a little bit differently.
I write to music nonstop.
Change your environment, like get around different people, and then the last one is my favorite: read books.
Yeah,
that was his 4th hack. You know, start to get ideas from books. If you can't read a book, there's a good podcast that summarizes and gives you the best idea.
I heard about them, yeah. Something came up, quick hack that's important if you are in your own, because I was in a studio apartment where I worked and I also lived, and simply separating where you have your laptop and where you work versus where you eat. And we're talking a small place, right? So like, one side of the apartment for one thing, one side for the other, and it doesn't feel like this one constant kind of cloud. It feels like your day's more methodical because you're spacing it out. So anyway, that came up on the conversation this morning.
I'm sure a lot of people are like dealing with that right now in their homes where they never worked.
Exactly.
My friend Julie is now at home, and her husband is also at home. He started a new job virtually. Like they hired him, but he all of a sudden now his job's at home. So they're together and they're close to each other. So they got to create some kind of separation. That's really good coaching.
Yeah.
There's got to be a line to cross over to go into different modes.
Yeah, you got to separate those things.
But what about the companies that are discovering that productivity is not falling off? In fact, the opposite is happening. People are more productive.
And they're saving costs.
Yeah, and the noise, like all the noise is gone. Like you can't be. There's no one to shoot the shit with at the water fountain.
Yeah,
or on the way back and forth to the bathroom. That's always a half hour. I remember one guy used to in my office every day at 12 o'clock or 11, right after he'd grab the Wall Street Journal and he'd disappear for an hour. Where'd he go?
Right.
It's like, come on, man. It's like an
40-minute smoke breaks.
I got to pay that guy $50 an hour to go to the bathroom, right? I don't know. Should have given him an hour off. But that's the big idea here, you know. Be a great communicator.
Persuade and communicate.
Yeah.
What about the John F. Kennedy one? I like that example a lot.
I used it today.
Did you?
Yeah.
In one of your meetings?
I was coaching a team of managers, and there was like 10 objectives. This is interesting because there was 10 of them. Like they want to hire this many new people. They want this many new sales. They want this many new phone, all the dials and stuff like that. And it was like all these objectives. And I said, why don't you just lump it into one big goal? And, there's one big goal that if you do that big goal, everything else will happen. And that was Kennedy's speech, right?
Go to the moon and get them back safely.
By the end of the decade.
By the end of the decade.
Right, because that summarized, he went to Congress and said, we need to do this, and which is you got to send a man to the moon by the end of the decade, return him safely to Earth, was the one and only goal of NASA, which replaced about 50 goals. They had all these goals about exploring science and getting new materials and being improving the national defense. All these reasons. But if we successfully did that one thing, everything else would have fallen into place.
Yeah,
and it did.
You appealed to pathos.
And everybody in NASA, there was I guess 300,000 people connected to that goal. By the way, I didn't realize it was that many people. That's a big organization. 300,000 people. If you asked the janitor what he was doing, he'd say, I'm helping put a man on the moon as he's sweeping the floor. Across the board. That's incredible buy-in. People are, when they're connected to clarity, like even in our own world, our own little business here is growing quite well since we got really clear on our name.
Yeah.
Books and business. Like we're not getting interviewed for other things. Like we talk about business books like this one that can make you a better communicator, better entrepreneur, better marketer, better leader.
Yeah.
Make less mistakes.
We've done, and I believe this wholeheartedly, like, clients aside, products aside, all the things that we've done that we're proud of, I feel like that switch and that clarity from your voice to the world, which is lovely, but it's very convoluted.
We loved it.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
I did too.
We all did.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Oh, I liked it. Yeah, and I understood it, but I had a hard time explaining it.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, that's
share your voice, build your business. Huh? When someone does that, you say what the business is. It's like, share your voice, build your business. And they're like, what?
Right.
We books. And then they're like, you lost them.
Exactly. It's the same concept as fifth grade reading level.
Yeah. It's a good example of how to use MVP, minimum viable product.
Yeah.
Love it. We had our best 3 days in a row consecutive in COVID-19.
Yeah.
Like I think these last 3 days will match the entire prior month almost.
It's pretty exciting.
So say hello to all the new people listening.
Yeah.
Hi,
Good to have you. We're on some playlists. We're actually putting together other lists to kind of combine books to get a multiplier effect. But depending on what you're trying to do, physical product, online product, you want to be a speaker, you want to be an influencer, you want to work from anywhere. All those are possible through these ideas.
It took a little time, but like as you become acclimated with the podcasting space, it was such a black hole.
Yeah.
It's an important segment of what we do, but like I feel like now we really understand it, to a level that we didn't 4 months ago, 5 months
It's
ago.
my most enjoyable thing I do of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do it if no one was listening, because when you learn like this, Eddie and I both learn differently. We shared the algorithm last night on a live we did for another group. I think we did it for your Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And it was about how you take in a book a week. A book a week's 52 books a week, and I'm probably reading a couple other ones. I think I'm closer to 70 books a year. But this book it's about 8 hours of reading, right? If you sat down and read it, and if you listen to it on Audible on double speed, which I think you do too.
Yep.
You can knock out the book in about half the time, 4 hours.
4 hours.
And then in my case, I just dog ear the places in the book that.
I don't think you missed a page.
I mean, there's only about 25 real notes in there. And some of them we won't even talk about here, but these are things I'll use in my own business. These are ideas. I mean, there's something called sweet talk.
It reinforces the points, It's good.
Like, we missed this idea, but it was called sweet talk. Like, oh, he's a sweet talker. My dad used to call me a bullshitter. You're a bullshitter. No, Dad, I was a good communicator, right? Like, and it started to pay later on. Like, he thought I was a bullshitter because I was talking my way out of things. And other people call it sweet talk. But there's an economist that studied jobs that required persuasion as the money-making part of the job. Mm-hmm. And there's 3 categories she put a group that was 75% was persuasion, like lawyers, salespeople, doctors. They got to persuade their patients and customers to act. Most of their job is persuasion. And then you got others with 50%, like teachers and educators and authors. Half their time is persuading people. And then you got people that have authority by their position, like a cop or a fireman, 25%. They still got to persuade, like get out of the tree, get out of the car, that type of thing. Right. She found out that 30 to 40% of the GDP in the world is connected directly to one's ability to persuade correctly. And if you don't think it's important to learn how to persuade and communicate, you're missing the boat. And if you can just be a little bit better than the next person who doesn't do any studying about it, you could probably 2x your position.
It's an incredible point, and in what should really mobilize you to pick up the book, if anything, is that for me, I remember I was running down the street when this clicked. I was listening on Audible. The best ideas don't get out there, and the best ideas don't change the world. The ideas by the people who tell the best stories are what moves the masses, gets people out there. And so literally the ability to communicate the value of your ideas is everything.
Totally.
Everything. And so that to me, I was like, a good idea is worth nothing. It's worth just as much as your ability to communicate that idea.
Right.
And it made me think, man, maybe I read this thing twice. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, it was a slow starter, and we would talk to Carmine. I don't know whether or not it was a good idea. We talked to him before we did the podcast, but I afterward, so I had more to read before, and I just wanted to get his perspective. There were so many great ideas about how to be a better communicator that if you want to be a better communicator, it may be the number one discipline above all other things now in the idea currency era.
More important than major in college, right. More important than your background.
Because you don't have to sell your idea. You can just be a good salesperson of a good idea you support.
True.
I think most of the ideas that's
a very good point.
Yeah. I don't think I have many original ideas. I put sure ideas. I get ideas from strolling the aisles. I go to other industries and I see things like I left financial services to become an author. So I strolled the aisles of other people that sold books and influencers. So I built up my audience a little bit, not a lot, but enough, big enough to be way bigger than anyone that I was in the old business with. And every time I turned a rock over, there was a new idea that I would have made good money and helped a lot of people with in my old world. So I'm almost like a translator now, like an interpreter of the digital world to the old bricks and mortar financial services industry. Yeah. So I kind of went on a journey, my own little hero's journey because of my conflict. I left their business. I went and survived terminal illness, recreated myself, came back with all these ideas. I go, look at these ideas. Look how you can work from anywhere in the world and make a great living. They're always stuck at the desk, so I've been teaching them how to work from anywhere.
It's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
I had a thought I wanted to run by you guys. I was actually thinking this recently about art and your ability to create art that resonates with people, and it reminded me of that when you were talking about the ability to persuade your idea if you actually have an idea. So if you have this idea but you can't persuade it at all, you can't get anybody to buy into it, it's worthless. But art is kind of similar, because if you create something and you think it's great, but not a single person it resonates with, how do you know it's good? And it's kind of like an idea. You have this great idea, but if you can't connect it with anything or convince anybody of it, is art similar? Like, would you think art is kind of similar in the fact that, like, if you make a song that you love so much, but nobody gives you any feedback, or like you put it out there and nothing, like obviously we've both done that. We both put stuff out that nobody really gives feedback. But what about like something you never get feedback on your stuff? Like you should be like, I'm terrible at this, or just terrible at communicating it. It's a weird thought.
It's like the artist's dilemma.
Yeah.
He has a whole chapter called Verbal Beauty. Like he talks about what Picasso did to make his art novel. Like Picasso would, and Buffett and Jobs both quote Picasso, because Picasso says good artists copy, great artists steal. Mm-hmm. Copy is copying. You're copying somebody. You're not original. Stealing something is just kind of repurposing. It's like strolling the other aisles. You're like
building upon.
Yeah, I'm like, take this concept and I'm going to put it in my creative world, and I'm going to come out with something that never existed before. I'm going to create it.
And it's, with words and communication, it's verbal beauty. And Buffett and Charlie Munger are both big architects of metaphor, and you're as good as anyone I've never ever seen in metaphor, like in your writing, using metaphor as an analogy to explain to somebody something that is the idea that you don't really know with something that everybody knows, to kind of make that connection.
Yeah, that moves people. Tangible, abstract metaphor that they can relate to, and then slowly pull them up into some big picture, some big message that they relate to through that metaphor. It's like a vehicle.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool examples. They keep making them, and I'm going to Berkshire. Well, I was going to go to Berkshire Hathaway's meeting. I think it's going to be canceled in May.
Summer?
It's in May.
Oh.
Yeah, it's probably canceled, but I was going to go again. Because I wanted to see. It's like seeing Joe DiMaggio, and here's a metaphor. It's like seeing Joe DiMaggio and Babe Ruth in the same stadium.
Yeah.
They're both
my
gone,
God, those
but
guys
Charlie
are so
and
sharp.
Charlie and Warren Buffett are the Joe DiMaggios and Babe Ruths of their era. And that's a metaphor. They're that big in the space. And they're not just big in the investment space, they're big in the human potential space.
Yeah. And it's funny because I doubt they set out to do that. But just by sharing the way they look at the world, it's like, I'm going to put that in my pocket and I'm going to use that over here.
Yeah.
The cognitive biases changed my life. I mean, they 100%.
Yeah, I know. When you look at a recipe, if you want a recipe to improve your communication skills, this is one of the. If I was going to pick 3 books, I'd pick this book. I would pick Poor Charlie's Almanac. To learn the cognitive biases. If you're selling somebody, understand what those are. What the super reaction tool. What other book will we look at
for persuasion?
Yeah, just to persuade. Essentialism. Because that way you're not trying to do too many. There's just so many. It'd be kind of cool to put that recipe together for our listeners. What 4 books could you put together?
Maybe
to
Donald Miller's book.
Oh, Donna Miller, yeah. Story Brand, fantastic. That's actually telling the hero's story for your brand.
Yeah.
And the 7-part system.
I pull from that quite a bit.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. I'm actually going to probably, he's been dripping on me so long. He's actually selling a live webinar for like $1,000, which is a lot for a webinar. I might buy it. Because his ideas are so good.
Is it a course or like a 1-hour thing?
It's his story brand coaching. Yeah, I love his stuff. Yeah, I use it a lot. Basically, he talks about the client being the hero of the story. So you have a character.
By the way, this is totally random. We don't know him.
We don't know him at all.
Promoting him.
Yeah. But whatever. Yeah, you don't have to buy it. I don't know. What you can do is just keep listening. I'll
Stop
curate
listening.
All right, hero has a problem, meets a guide. That gives him a plan, that calls him to action.
There he goes.
That avoids tragedy, gains pleasure. Right?
That's it. I use that a lot.
7-part story. So if you have the problem a lot of people make is they make themselves the hero of their own stories. You want to make the listener the hero of the story.
We use that all the time. We've been talking about when we try to come up with things, the stones in the creek. We bring up that book a lot with this story. I really like that book. That one helped me a lot.
The plan. Everybody wants a plan. Like, you want to be a great communicator. What's the plan? He breaks this down in 3 parts.
Yeah.
In 4 hours, you can be a way better communicator. In 40 minutes to an hour, you're definitely going to be better than you were. These aren't a supplement to reading the book. It's an encouragement to read the book and then get on our community and start rapping about it.
Ooh.
Right? That's what my belief is.
Yeah. I'm with you, man.
We're creating a lot of readers. I know we're getting feedback. New people are reading books. I had a friend of mine who's a bookie, owns 2 restaurants. Right? He knows he's a listener too. But he called me up. He says, I don't have any money coming in right now for the first time since high school. There's no sporting events, and he owns 2 restaurants. They're closed. Now his booking is illegal, isn't it? What do you call that then?
Wait, what do you?
You know what a bookie is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the neighborhood guy. Small time guy, but
right.
That's what he did. But he's reading our book.
Allegedly.
He's reading books. I don't care what he does. I don't judge what people do. That's not my place in the world. I'm just telling you that he's reading books. He's recreating himself.
That's awesome.
Because his world has changed massively. Imagine that.
It's the most important thing you can do. Really.
50 years old.
I didn't think a book a week was possible.
Oh my God, I think it's...
Well, just because we're so busy and have so
one a
many
day.
things you want to do, but it's not only that. I feel like if you wanted to, you could do 2. Like it's very, very possible.
We're going to do a second podcast, actually. We're going to do we're going to rap.
Yeah.
It's going to be a current affairs rap.
As in talk.
Yeah. Rap. You don't want to hear me rap? Any questions?
I haven't checked. Let me check.
We'll find the questions.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something that you mentioned, though, that I liked, that reminded me of Carmine Gallo's quote.
What are you doing then? Sitting there the whole time?
No, I'm pulling. You said that you would do this podcast either way, even if it wasn't like for something because you like to talk about the books. Yeah. And that's a quote that reminded me of Carmine, which is people cannot inspire others until they are inspired themselves. So it's like you're very inspired about these books. That's why I think this does well. So I think, and I really like that. And I'll tell you the other quote he has too that I put as the caption, which is longer. It's, science shows that passion is contagious. Literally, you cannot inspire others unless you are inspired yourself. You stand a much greater chance of persuading and inspiring your listeners if you express an enthusiastic, passionate, and meaningful connection to your topic. I really like that one because he talks about the story, talks about these things, but if you have your own story and you connect with it, that alone is like a huge part of it, which is why I think stories do well, because most time people are telling their own story, so they're like connected personally to it.
I was thinking about some of the people that we go to dinner every night, and we've been cooking in here, and we think about these people that are bartenders and waiters that we go visit, that we enjoy. You know, the casino's just up the street, and they're out of work. Maybe some of them kind of did something to bridge their income because they're legitimately out of work, and many of those people are great people and have families, and they're living hand to mouth. I mean, they make great money, but they just never thought. So some of them had to recreate themselves. Maybe this is enough to have them completely do it. But if I had to build a strategy to go from nothing, right? This is a good story they can tell their grandkids once they, I was working, my way through. I had a good job. I was a top waiter at a top restaurant making big money. They make about $100,000 sometimes. COVID-19 hits. I'm out of work. I have no money. I have bills. I have mouths to feed. I recreate myself as X. I learn how to become a business owner, an entrepreneur. Maybe they go on to change the world.
There's your 3-part story.
That's a 3-part story system.
Yep.
So if you're a bartender or a bartender or a waiter or someone in travel who's been just wiped out, airline people, you have the conflict. You have the hardest part of a story, which is conflict. The before part is what it is. The after part you haven't written yet. That's who you want to become, the identity that you're going to recreate yourself into.
Yeah.
That new person.
It's one of my favorite points. Like I was talking to someone today who's like pretty down and out. Mm-hmm. It's like the reminder, exactly how you just put it. Like conflict is the springboard to recreation, to good things. And, on the other side, like it's hard to pick yourself up and see the other side of it, but that's where the good stuff is. You got to hang in. Right.
Yeah, at all costs. And last night we were doing a live. Somebody had asked about, what was the question about coming back from something really bad, from tragedy? Didn't that come last night?
Yeah, I can't recall.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, like someone had fallen down to zero. And I said, man, or it was a woman, you are at the place to completely start to move away from that. The world gave you that as a gift, because when you're at zero, moving away from zero and creating momentum is super easy. Just anything. And then you build on it. And when you're at just slight momentum, it seems like a lot when you look back and see where you were.
Yeah.
I said, that's when you start to get a lot of feedback, because people around you are always rooting for you. If someone falls, everyone looks like, get up. Everybody wants you to get up. We want you to get up. And if you get up a little bit, they'll cheer you on. Mm-hmm. It's like the kid that couldn't hit the baseball in Little League. It's hard to watch. If he gets one hit, the whole place goes crazy. I've seen that before.
Humans are interesting.
People like cry. Yeah. Everyone wants to see the comeback, so make the damn comeback.
Yeah. Until you succeed, then they yank you down.
It's like Tom Brady. He makes all these comebacks, and later on, I was thinking he probably gets behind on purpose because the game's boring to him.
Yeah,
because he can make the comeback. Like, I don't know if that's the story, but once you're down, like the Atlanta game, he's way down, and he comes back and wins, because that's like one of the most famous comebacks ever.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
He had a brilliant quote that I shared on Twitter. He was basically like, someone asked him about the situation and leaving teams, going to, I think the team with the most losses in NFL history, maybe, was the stat that I saw.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I may be wrong, but there's some stat like that that's not flattering. And so they're like, why did you do that? And he says, I just couldn't handle not knowing like what I could have done. And that's how winners think, like the regret.
He's going to know for sure.
What he could have done with Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy. Wait, why Tampa Bay? Just because of how bad it was?
It was just a new opportunity. I think the question was more like, why didn't you stay with the Patriots? You've been with them 20 years. And you've had so much success. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was just a cool way of articulating that.
We'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah.
So you got to play it out. I'm rooting for him. He's been good to New England sports. I think he's been good to sports. He's been good to people who have lousy teams because they gave them someone to hate.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been great for sports, and he's got a good story. Guess what? Tom Brady doesn't get in the game against when Brett Bledsoe got hurt, Tom Brady never becomes Tom Brady. We talk about ideas that die on the vine. You got to have a combination of an opportunity to step up, and you got to shine. So when your chance comes to tell your story, if you get in front of the right person in the right circumstances, these are the times you want to revert to short, sweet bullets of why someone wants to do something. Imagine Tom Brady came in and nervous, he fumbled, he came right up, became Tom Brady.
Was just a badass, yeah. He was ready.
Do you know what he said, his famous statement to Kraft when he said, "Who are you?"
No.
First time they met?
No.
He said, I'm Tom Brady. I'm the best decision this organization's ever made. He was the 6th-round draft choice.
That's awesome.
He said, I'm the best decision this organization's ever made.
And he wasn't wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to hit him with next week's book?
Where's next week's book?
What
I'll go
is
grab
next
it.
week's
I'll grab
book?
Well, let's start with why.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Simon Sinek, Start With Why. I cannot wait.
I know, I'm so pumped for that.
Yeah, this guy's sizzle.
I read Leaders Eat Last.
You already read it.
Yeah, but I've been excited to read this. This is kind of what kicked everything out. It's floating around.
We
here
don't
somewhere.
need it.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it right there.
Got it.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Anyway, but yeah, that'll be an awesome read. He's a sharp dude.
Well, he has a lot of the pathos, why you want to do something. Very powerful. He's a TED Talk he turned into a book,
Yeah.
right?
That's one of the. It's mentioned in this book actually. Is one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time.
His was.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just on a whiteboard with a marker in this weird little room, and he's drawing. It's impressive. It really is. But I'm sure we'll have a lot to break down and talk about next week. So I'm pumped.
Sweet.
All right, guys.
Okay.